Damn these Biloxi blues, it happens every night. And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine. The summer heat never treats me kind, it leaves trouble on my mind.
Ale. Ale, Low Budget Live, Not So Live.
This highway does not know my name, and I don't
No, sir, it does not. But the highway does not know my name. But y'all do. Y'all do, because you found yourself here. And I'm here this week, November 7th. And welcome. Welcome aboard this crazy little ride we call Low Budget Live, Not So Live. And that highway does not know my name. I've been up and down that highway many times. All these old highways. Chasing this bass fishing dream, chasing this boat park slanging dream, this music playing dream. And that highway does not know my name. But, there are a few people in this fishing industry that do now. Oh, Claude, have mercy. Did we shook some things up on the little podcast that could last week? We shook some things up, and I'd like to say, first of all, thank you. Thank you to all of you that find yourself here now. Whether you're liking, subscribing, whether you're on the shadows out there looking, you're afraid to comment, or you're maybe you bat for the other team, so to speak. Maybe you're out there just kind of trolling under the bridge and checking out what we're doing here on Low Budget Live, Not So Live. Regardless of how you got here, or regardless of what you are or what your affiliation is, welcome. Welcome to Low Budget Live. This is the Low Budget Live Bar and Grill, and the response from last week has been amazing. It's been amazing. From the podcast I did about my mother, and the podcast I did about old Jimbo at Major League Fishing, Mr. Jim Wilburn, president of Major League Fishing, and the support, the outcry of things, outcrying towards the subject was just crazy. And first things first, I want to say thank you. And I'm behind. I'm behind on the YouTube comments, and I'm behind on the emails. I stay that way. Y'all know I got so many irons in the fire that I can't keep up some days, but I'm trying, and I tried to answer back to all YouTube comments always, and this one got me. By far, the most YouTube comments I've ever had on a video. It's no secret. Most views we've ever had on an LBL so far, most downloads, was that episode. And I'd like to say thank you, and more than all the drama, and we'll get to that. We're definitely going to get to that. But more than all the drama, the people telling stories about their mothers, they've lost their mothers, or what their mothers mean to them, and the people saying, hey, man, your mom sounded like a wonderful person, and the outpouring of support for me and my family through this trying time. Thank you. Thank you. I can type it into words, and I can say it, and it gets redundant, right? It feels like I'm saying the same thing to everybody, but you just don't know what to say, right? But I can tell you now that I've got you looking. I'm looking at you. That it's, for me, man, it does. I'm like the Grinch. It makes my heart grow 3 sizes in one day, or whatever Dr. Seuss said. But truly, to see my mother, and like I said last week, Ryder, man, my little Ryder, he said, we got to honor TT every day. We got to honor my mom, and man, how much has she been honored over and over in comments and emails and people sharing this podcast on their Facebooks and Facebook pages, the Facebooks. I sounded like my grandmother when I said that. Walmart's Facebooks. But unbelievable. And the outpouring before I did the podcast was already incredible, but I've heard from so many, wonderful people and people that are new to my life in this fishing world that I know and have a massive amount of respect for, I should say, but don't personally know, and that work for different organizations or different companies and whatnot. And the outpouring has been amazing. It's been amazing. And you guys that have been with this podcast since 2 years ago when we're doing it on Instagram and you can't listen to it and it's just a live show and it was a hot mess just like it is now, that are still hanging in there, that's still commenting and still messaging, thank you. This is fun. And I've said it's an outpouring of my opinions and it's an outpouring of emotion sometimes. And it's just an outlet for me. And I'm glad I get to do Low Budget Live. And Low Budget Live is brought to you by StarTron. Never forget that. These are good folks. StarTron, making the Starbright cleaning products. StarTron, fighting the ethanol, fighting the good fight, like we're doing here on Low Budget Live, fighting that fight against ethanol in your weed eater, in your chainsaw. It's that time of year. Put it in your UTV, your four-wheeler. Maybe you still got a three-wheeler. If you do, like Fat Cat Newton, I think you're pretty. I think you're a bad A. You still popping wheelies on a three-wheeler, but you're gonna need this. If you're rocking a three-wheeler, you're gonna need some StarTron. So thanks to the folks at StarTron for supporting Low Budget Live, not so live. And, that outpouring has been incredible. It's been incredible. The thank yous, something that's really kind of caught me off guard, were the thank yous. And what I mean by that are the people that sent me either comments or texts, and a lot of it was texts or emails, okay, from people inside this fishing industry, and that included industry sponsors that are either sponsor all the organizations or sponsor MLF, and they sponsor MLF anglers, and they sponsor FLW anglers and Bassmaster Elite anglers. But I heard from industry sponsors. I heard from anglers from across every organization, guys from Bass, guys from FLW, guys from MLF BPT. They said, thank you for saying what we can't. And that was a big deal to me. It kind of hit me between the eyes going, man, maybe this is more deep-seated than I think. Maybe these guys have affected a lot of people personally. And from reading a lot of the Facebook messages and things I got from people in the bass fishing media, all websites, you name them, I heard from them. And they see a lot of things. There are a lot of people that see a lot of things in this crazy world. And it is very much, I had a guy I have a massive amount of respect for that sent me an email actually last night about it. And he says this cancel culture we live in this country. And I thought, what a great way of putting that if a corporation doesn't like something or they don't like an opinion, they try to get it taken out. And that's bad. That's not what this country was founded on, or, it was about freedom, and it was about freedom of speech and the right to kind of do whatever you want, man. I mean, and I don't have to agree with it, and you don't have to agree with it. But at the end of the day, we're all in this thing together. And you see it across, it transcends all industries, all platforms, that's definitely a cancel culture. You look at stand-up comedians, they give their opinions. They try to make people laugh. There's nothing off limits to those guys. And I understand, somebody's up there making cancer jokes. You don't think that's going to hit me funny? Well, of course it's going to hit me weird. But at the same time, that dude may have been through it in his life, and that's how he gets through it, is telling jokes about it. I don't know. That's not my place. But, lately, like Dave Chappelle had a special, and everybody called for his head because he made school shooting jokes. And I get it. That's terrible. But at the same time, freedom of speech. He's got the right to that. And more importantly, you have the right to not turn on his Netflix special. Just like if you don't like what gets said here on this channel, or you don't like my fishing videos, which, by the way, we got more coming, fishing videos. I'm just behind on editing things. You know, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to support it. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to like. You don't have to comment. But, you know, we have options, right? We have options. So the fact that a corporation can try to cancel you out by either calling your sponsors or calling your employer, in my case, like I you know, beat into the mud last week, that sucks. That sucks. So I really liked his term, cancel culture. It's hard to say when you're a fat redneck, but that was really poignant to me, and it spoke to me, and that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. You know, I tell you, after last week, and I never expected it to go how it went. I didn't do this for ratings, so to speak. We don't have ratings in podcasts, but I didn't do it for views. I didn't do it for clicks. I don't, you know, I obviously enjoy doing this and providing, you know, myself a platform, and I do very much appreciate every view I get, right? But I don't say outrageous things to try to get that. So I'd like to say to the new listeners and the new viewers, because I know there are a lot of you, because I've gotten messages from you, you know, I'm not always going to be, quote, controversial, but I promise you this. I'll make you a deal. I will always call it like I see it. And I will always give you my straight up opinion. In this case, my feathers were very ruffled, and they should have been, and they still are. They still are. You would think that when this hit, you know, it uploads on last Thursday. We go into Friday, and I'm just hanging out at my deer lease with my dad and hanging tree stands and things, and man, my phone's just melting in half, and no negative, right? I've seen maybe one negative comment, and I know there are people on forums talking about this to death. I keep hearing and getting links sent to me. I don't even care. I don't want to see it. I appreciate the people that are, you know, I've heard there are people going on other podcasts in the comments and trying to get responses, and I've heard there are some talk shows that won't touch it with a 10-foot pole, and that's funny to me, because you can't cover the sport and not cover it, right? But you can if you're worried about, you know, daddy slapping your wrist. And but I'm getting a lot of messages like that. Hey man, I've been bringing this up on other shows, and you know, whatever. Teach their own. But I'm not trying to be controversial. But you would think when that video by Friday, middle of the day Friday, I mean, I'm just seeing the likes on the video, you know, and I'm seeing the comments. I'm like, whoa, man, this struck a nerve with people, and that's good. That's good. I'm glad that people saw it the way I saw it. Instead of the other way, because, you know, you get on there and people are like, you're a piece of crap for saying this about this guy. You know, that would, you know, would it have changed my opinion? None, not at all. But it made me feel justified in what I did, that people agreed. And the outcry and the text and things were amazing. But you look over there to that thumbs down, which I always think YouTube thumbs downers are funny, because you take time out of your day. I watched this video and I gave it a thumbs down. I didn't like it. I've just never done anything like that in my life. You know, I'll just click off of it and go to the next thing. But the likes, we'll pull it up here. The likes versus dislikes at this point, 415 likes versus 7 dislikes on the video. And you would think that if you are someone with that organization that I was talking about, Major League Fishing, that enough would be like, damn, man, we might need to just chill out. But, oops, Jim did it again. Do you remember Britney Spears? Old Jimbo decided again to reach out. Not to me this time. He went direct over my head again, but he got blocked again. And so hats off to those guys once again. You know, I don't know. I don't get it. Obviously, ego is a powerful thing. So, but I would like to say thank y'all for standing your ground and commenting and supporting this. If you don't like what's going on out there, and just in the country in general, like this, that is like the, my friend that sent me the email. It's a cancel culture, and people think they can get you ripped right off the earth. So, thank y'all, and don't expect controversy all the time. But we will indeed, right here, say we, this is we. I will, I'll, talk about what I talk about. It is what it is. But thank y'all for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking. There are more to come. We're going to try to do one every week, and we're going to get the lives back with guests, hopefully very soon. So moving on. That was kind of the, I rambled on there for a little bit, but you got to cover. That's housekeeping, right? Get the housekeeping out of the way. And I want to say, I have nothing but respect for what Jerry Mckinnis did in this industry, and I want to take some time here to say thank you to Jerry Mckinnis. His passing was definitely a big blow to this industry. Jerry has been very influential in a lot of things in fishing media over the years, and the sport of bass fishing as a whole, and the sport of fishing as a whole. So thoughts and prayers out to his family for sure, to his son Mike. Mike's out there at JM Associates. He's kind of running the day-to-day now. I've met Mike. I've worked with Mike on Bassmaster Live a couple times when I've worked with those guys, and it is absolutely first class. It's professional, and you're talking about a man that had one of the longest running, I believe the stat is longest running show on ESPN other than Sports Center was the Fishing Hole, and so he's on the worldwide leader of sports. He's on their network for years and years and years and years and years. And, fishing with his dog. And I remember being a kid just seeing this guy and he wasn't, heavy sponsor plugs or anything like that. He just loved fishing. It's kind of like Al Linder. These guys, friend of mine and I were talking about this week. Some of those guys were my heroes as much as bass pros, like, Ike and Ellie and Swindle and Denny Brower and Rick Clunn and those guys when I was growing up. But, the Jerry McKinnises and the Jimmy Houstons and, Al Linder, like how cool, was in Fisherman back in the day and still is. The Linders are killers. So all that stuff, I love those shows. So Jerry was right up there. But when I really fell in love with and I didn't even know, I was young, but I didn't know what was going on really. I couldn't appreciate it now. And I've been going back and watching some of this stuff on YouTube in the last few days just because it's nostalgic and I really enjoy it. But what Jerry did in the coverage of professional bass fishing was unmatched. And it's how we cover tournaments today. He did that. He set that up. He changed the game completely. And in the late 90s, there was the shift. You had the Bassmasters had always been on the Nashville network, TNN. Shout out to Bob Cobb. Those were the, the old school Bassmaster. I'm Bob Cobb. Amazing, man. I used to record them there at my parents' house, VHS. Hit record. You kids don't even know what I'm talking about out there. The old days, man. You had to put in a freaking VHS tape into a dang VCR and hit record, set up your times, and sometimes it didn't work and you missed your favorite shows. There were no DVRs or live streaming. Bringing out my old man self right now. But I would tape these shows, and Bob Cobb Bassmasters was always the way it was covered. Bob was amazing. The Bassmasters was, I love to go back, but then late 90s, early 2000s, but around 98 for me. And I wrote it down because I want to be sure to talk about it. But 98, you had the FLW Tour, the Walmart FLW Tour presented by Coca-Cola, to be exact. Those non-endemics that aren't around anymore. See 2 episodes ago if you want to know what I'm talking about. But Walmart FLW Tour on ESPN2. What? Bass fishing on ESPN? What? Jerry Mckinnis hanging out of a helicopter? Interviewing guys on the water while they're fishing, top 5? Dude, these guys were bigger than freaking Mark McGuire to me and baseball players, man. Ricky Clunn, as McKinnis always referred to him. Ricky Clunn, as Mr. Jerry and Tommy Sanders, Ricky Clunn, Denny Brower, Van Dam. FLW was on fire, man. But you had Strader. Wesley Strader was on some of those old Swindle won one in 98. Randy Howe won in 98. Dan Moorhead, all covered by Jerry McKinnis, Tommy Sanders. And Tommy still to this day works with him, and I think that's a testament. Works with JM and Associates. It's a testament to how great Jerry was and influential he was in Tommy's life. But they were incredible, man. The coverage, the details. But then they would call the guys on the water. Nobody had ever done that before. Everything was kind of post-production, right? Bob Cobb would talk about everything like from a narrator's perspective after the tournament was over. Jerry McKinnis and Tommy started covering it and filming. Of course, they're filming the fishing as it's going on, but they're commentating as it's going on for the most part, and they're calling guys in the boats and getting the lowdown, calling Marty Stone. He's throwing a spinnerbait in flooded bushes on Kentucky Lake. Hey, Marty, how's it going? What does it feel like to make you top 5? Getting those emotions as it progresses. As it progresses, dude, amazing. But yeah, Jerry McKinnis hanging out of a helicopter, flying down the Mississippi River, chasing Gary Klein. Big shout out to Gary. I know you're watching, Gary. Big Gary. One of my childhood fishing heroes, by the way. Not a low budget live fan, but love Gary. Love Gary. Shout out to Gary. Mississippi River FLW's winning 2 of them back to back, and Jerry McKinnis following him in a helicopter down the river, hanging out, flying above him, showing what it's like. It's before drones. Killer stuff. Then he switches over to Bassmaster. Everything changes again. They leave FLW. FLW shows totally change. Bassmaster gets that JM Associate look. That desk, that Mark Zona, Tommy Sanders down the road, it becomes Bassmaster Live then. They have this vision for live streaming. They run all that, the graphics, the freaking production value is amazing in what they're doing. Still, it's the best. It's the best. To this day, it's the best. I've commended Major League Fishing for their live coverage. I think it's really, really good. Bassmaster Live's still the best. I think FLW Live, I think it's great. My man Peyote over there at FLW Live kills it. And I think they've had a lot smaller budget to work with. Kind of like us here at the Low Budget Live Bar and Grill. But Peyote kills it. Very comparable to what they do at Bass Live. But Bass Live is still right there. And they just keep expanding and throwing new things out there, and they're risk takers. Jerry was a risk taker. Jerry, he came up with the idea with Bass for the Elite 50s, the little small Elite 50s, covered, just very cool small field events. Gave away $250,000. I think Boyd Duckett won one of those, as a matter of fact, maybe. Can't remember, but he won some money from Bass. Couple times. But Randy Howe won one of those. And Jerry created and gave a platform to anglers, but he created background stories. He got their life stories and he pushed them to the forefront, and he made guys like Iaconelli a character. Iaconelli was already a character, but he brought it to you, and he focused on the fact that he's the Jersey crazy guy yelling, screaming, Iaconelli going wild when he catches one, that he's crazy, over the top, excited when he catches one, that he gets super pissed off, and he's going to show you that too. And he's going to show you all the emotions and the ups and downs with everybody. He's going to show you guys' personalities. He's going to set up that backstory. Randy Howe, the young baby-faced kid winning in 98, on the tour, and then coming over to the Bassmasters and show you that ride, man. Show you that ride. Show you Randy's decision on that last morning of the Classic to go win the Classic. Like, all these guys owe a lot to Jerry Mckinnis. So I have mad respect for Jerry Mckinnis. And he was very passionate about what happened last year. And a lot of those guys that went to MLF got really upset with Jerry and his opinions. He made some Facebook posts about it. And, I've seen MLF post their condolences this week. And, Jerry, everybody in this industry owes Jerry a lot, even if you disagreed with things he did. And I know that a lot of guys have over the years disagreed with him as much as they agreed with him. But, we definitely owe him a lot. So hats off, Jerry Mckinnis, man. I'm just, the only interaction truly that I ever had with Mr. McKinnis, the only one, was during the beard war for breast cancer, when Gerald and I were doing our goofy beard thing back and forth, and we ended it on Bassmaster Live, and Mike McKinnis and Mercer and Zona got together and decided, hey, man, we need to live stream shaving Gerald's face, which was just crazy. It's crazy. On the floor of the Classic, 2,000 people staring. Stupid. So much fun. And Jerry McKinnis, he talked to me that day, told me he's very sorry to hear about my mother, and it was when he's still on Bass and was co-owner in Bass, and they gave us $5,000 for the beard war. And so that was my only interaction with Jerry McKinnis ever, but I got to say, much respect to Jerry McKinnis. I felt like Jerry McKinnis was a class act. He was a pioneer in this industry, and we all owe him a lot. So all you young guys out there, go look up Lynn Dollar's YouTube channel. Lynn Dollar, he's got all the old Bassmaster footage uploaded from the TNN days, the Bob Cobb days. You want to see some retro footage. And then he's got a lot of those old FLWs. That's where I've been watching them here today. Lynn Dollar on YouTube. Go check it out. Go watch the progression of how everything has gone. It wasn't all YouTube and live streaming and everything that we have now. That's where we got our information on every little technique, and man, they covered it well, him and Tommy Sanders. So much respect to Jerry McKinnis. I've ran over a little bit. I've got a scheduled guest today. See if we can get him on the old hotline right now. My guest today will be Mr. Andrew Upshaw, winner of the FLW Tour event this year at Lake Cherokee. Won him a cool $100,000 then. Winner of last week's Costa Championship. The Costa Championship. He won it. Andrew is a unique individual in the sport like myself because he is very embedded in the sport business-wise. He works on the business side. I'm going to let Andrew tell that, but let's get on the phone right now. Andrew Upshaw, or as we like to call him, Washpoo. Andrew Washpoo.
Well, hello.
Well, hello, Andrew Upshaw. How are you?
Goes it, Mr. Luke Duncan?
Hey, it's going, well, not as good as it's going for you, my friend. Let's just add 50 more grand to what we've done this year. That's no big deal.
No big deal.
Nothing to see here. Just adding some more hardware to things, adding another title to the old resume there. No big deal.
Tennessee and Kentucky sure have been good to me.
They have.
I don't know.
But
kind of crazy.
But meanwhile, you go back out there to Oklahoma. Just leave us.
I know it.
You just leave us. I get it though. It's in your DNA out there in that part of the world, Texas and Oklahoma. You just can't help yourself.
I can't. It's mainly Texas, not necessarily Oklahoma. I just like living close to Texas.
And that's where your wife's family's from, right? Is Oklahoma?
No, they're actually from Ohio.
Oh, that's right. So how did you wind up in Oklahoma then? I don't think I know that story.
Well, I moved up there
for work.
The first year, I started working for Gene LaRue and Lou's.
That's right.
So now I don't only work for Lou's, but I work from my house. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that, and we're going to get into everything here. But I said that before I brought you on in your sweet introduction I gave you.
Oh, I hope it was super awesome.
It was very professional, and it was really good. So you have worked in the industry. You and I have known each other for a very long time through this crazy bass fishing world, on both sides of things, fishing against each other, with each other, so to speak, fishing, and then working alongside each other in this crazy industry. But how long have you worked in the industry?
I guess I've worked in the industry going on 10 years now.
Okay.
It's been I've been in it for a while, but not as long as a veteran like yourself.
Oh yeah, right. Well, I think I got some age on you though. I'm pretty sure a few years.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was working whenever this young punk kid named Andrew Upshaw made the classic.
No doubt you were.
I was working. Yeah, I was working, and you were the first ever. And I don't know, listeners out there, if you don't keep up with this sport, you might miss something. You might be like, oh man, Andrew Upshaw's on fire this year. Who's this guy? Well, he's kind of been around a while. He's been around a while. He's had quite the journey, and he was the first ever collegiate angler to make the Bassmasters Classic.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It seems like it's been like 25 years ago, but in all reality, it's been like 7 or 8.
That's crazy. It does seem like a lot longer than that, really. I was talking about before you came on. I'm kind of jumping around, but you know me, that's what I do.
Oh yeah.
Before I got you on, I was talking about Mr. Jerry Mckinnis. Did you have any dealings with Jerry when you made that classic?
I did, actually. Jerry and I didn't ever really see eye to eye on some stuff. And it actually, so I'll tell this story. And first I want to start it out by I hate that Jerry passed away, even despite our issues with each other. I hate to see that. I mean, especially the way everything went down. I hate it for his family
and what he did, and what he did for this sport. I mean, we all know that's. I said that coming on, that there were guys that disagreed. Jerry was very strong in his opinions and how he did business, and there were people that definitely disagreed with him. But I would still say, at the end of the day, he did as much for this industry, in particular the production of how these tournaments are covered, than anybody ever has.
Oh, absolutely. And that goes without saying. I mean,
right, absolutely. But let's hear the Jerry Mckinnis versus Andrew Upshaw story. I got to hear this.
Well, so when I made the classic, nothing, they had just decided that they were going to let a college angler fish the classic. But that's all they had. There was no stipulations. There was nothing actually written down of what they expected from the college angler. There was no contingencies. There's nothing. So getting ready for the classic, I get a call from tournament director, and he tells me that I'm going to have to run a nitro boat, and I'm going to have to wear this big SFA logo on my jersey. Well, I was like, I don't want to wear that. I want to wear my logos on my jersey. So it's really relative to right now.
Relative to the entire history of the sport, but go ahead.
Yeah, no doubt. And I emailed Jerry, and I was like, Jerry, because he'd give me his email address, and I was like, and I was kind of young and kind of dumb at the time, and I was like, Jerry, I don't want you to seem like, this is all relative, so I was like, I don't want you to seem like FLW of years past, of making me run a boat, making me run certain logos. And I said, I didn't think bass was ever like that, because I was like, Kevin Van Dam runs whatever logos and boat he wants, but I'm the only one that has to run what you're telling me to run. Well, I email all this to him. Okay. And I was I thought at the time I was very respectful. Well, I get a phone call from him the next morning at 6 a.m. And he lights into me I I was one of his kids.
I love it.
And it explains his part of the whole deal. And I ended up wearing the logo on my jersey, and I ended up running the nitro, if that tells you anything.
Exactly. Exactly. Dang right you did.
Because I wanted to fish the Bassmaster
That's
Classic.
exactly right.
You do what you got to do. So yeah, that's my Jerry Mckinnis story. We
got off on the wrong foot.
We definitely got off on the wrong foot, but I didn't agree with that. I didn't, when I made the Classic, and at the time, and even now, I believe if you make the Classic or make a championship and everybody else gets to do it one way and you're forced to do it another way, I don't think that's correct.
I agree.
I think you should be able to, if they have the freedom to do what they want to do, you should have the freedom to do what you want to do. And that's just my personal,
And in fairness to them, it was new, and they were probably they were kind of handling it how they thought they should be handling it, right? I mean, and how they had set it up. But you saw it as because I've always known you as this super aggressive, hungry, business-minded guy that loves to fish, that knows his marketing, that knows his stuff. That knows this industry, that loves this industry very much, and you're very passionate. I shouldn't say aggressive is not a good word, but passionate. But you are. You're very. And you know what you want, and you speak your freaking mind. And I've always respected that, because you're a lot like me in that I don't ever have to worry about what you're thinking about something, because you're going to tell me.
There's no doubt about that.
You're going to tell me, but you saw that opportunity at the Classic as, hey man, this is my opportunity. I made this thing. I can promote sponsors. I might be able to get more sponsors. I might be able to sell sponsors as the first college. So I get your side totally in that. And I talked about this a couple podcasts ago, because people forget that Bass kind of went through that for a little bit on that Jersey and you got to fish out of their boats thing. And at different times, this has been around for a long time. This model that we're still seeing being passed off as, in my opinion, like new and shiny, it's been around. We've seen it. We've done it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for the angler. It doesn't work.
It's definitely been around for a while. And you know what, really, beyond the advertising aspect, the marketing aspect of everything, the thing that bothered me the most was the fact that I had a boat, a brand new boat. I had the electronics that I wanted on
Absolutely.
it. I had everything I wanted. When they sent me the boat, which was and I'm not sponsored by Nitro, but it was a good boat.
Yeah.
But it had 5-inch graphs on it and no power poles.
You had to get comfortable, and you had to kind of rig it up how you wanted it.
Well, I ended up, stirring the pot a little bit, and I got some graphs, and I put a power pole in it just so I would have at least, because my boat is loaded. Like, it's
right.
Every graph, every power pole, hot foots, oxygenators, the whole 9 yards. And this boat didn't have all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I just kind of felt...
Biggest tournament of your life.
Yeah. I need all the advantages I can have against Kevin Van Dam and Swindle and Ike and Ellie. Like, I don't need to, you can't go in there, like, with a half-ass attitude.
That's right.
Of I'm going to go out there and compete against the best in the world with subpar equipment.
That's
right.
That's
just... You can't do that. So, and it bothered me immensely. But I ended up pulling it together and just went fishing and did decent, whatever. But,
well, it's awesome though that you did stand your ground, even to a Jerry Mckinnis in that situation. He probably thought, "Who's this punk kid?"
Oh, there's no doubt.
And now today, I like to think that when you won up there at Cherokee this year, Jerry was like, "By God, my man." You know what I mean? Like he probably took a lot of pride in the fact that you have excelled through these ranks, made Forrest Wood Cups on the FLW side, RIP Forrest Wood Cup. FLW Cup, whatever that was. Children, 2 years from now, I'll do a podcast and go, listen, gather around, kids, and let me tell you the story of when we used to have an FLW championship. There was a guy named Brad Knight that won one of those Forrest Wood Cups, this legendary trophy. Brian Thrift, Scott Martin. So in that, when you won the Costa Championship, when you signed up for the Costas this year, I mean, you've always been a big advocate of those, whether it's EverStar's, Costa's, Strins. They've been American Fishing Series. They've been 47 different things over the years, but it's always the same kind of regional tournament trail that leads to the next level. You've always been a big proponent of those, and you've always done very well in those. But that cup going away when you signed up this year, I mean, you got to be thinking cup, right? It's another opportunity to make the cup. I mean, that's a huge feather in the cap.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is what was aggravating was the fact that more places were added to the cup, or more places were added to the Costa Championship to qualify for the cup.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at it as if, hey, all I got to do basically is go get a top 10 and I'm going to make it to the cup, which alleviates the amount of stress for the next year going on tour, that I can go out there and just try to win more tournaments.
And it's an automatic $10,000.
And it's an automatic $10,000.
Yep.
Well, let's not even talk about the money.
No, I know.
Makes me want to cry.
Oh, I know.
Makes me want to cry. But yeah, and nobody really knew what was going to happen until just a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
And so, in the talks that I've had with some of the higher ups of FLW and everything, they've known about this sale for quite some time.
Yeah, we've felt this was coming.
Yeah,
you and I shared a spot on the angler panel together. We were on that, and we've felt like this was coming for a while.
Yeah, and so to have that kind of stripped away without any type of contingency or any type of plan, like I haven't, an aggravating aspect, and this is just my opinion.
Yep. An
aggravating aspect of this is the fact that I still have yet to get a phone call about not making the cup. And let me tell you this, and the cup doesn't exist, so whatever.
Yeah, it's gone.
But in the tournament packet that we were all sent, it still talks about the Forestwood Cup, qualifying for the Forestwood Cup. And I'm like
for this season, like they changed it technically mid-season, even though it was late season, but yeah.
So I'm like, well, that stinks. Like, I'll read my tournament packet, and it's like, yeah, you finish in the top 2 or whatever in your division, you make the Forestwood Cup. And this is the tournament packet they sent out just a week or two ago.
I know.
2 weeks ago. So I'm like, but I have yet to have anybody give me a call and say, we're sorry, we're not going to have a cup, and that qualification is no more. I haven't had anything.
Well, wow.
And that kind of stinks a little bit because
I get it.
Like at least call me and say, hey, the cup's gone, so like here you go.
This is what we'll do.
Well, anything's better than nothing, and but I shouldn't have that expectation because it's it's just going to stress me out even more than I already am stressed out.
And lots of things to be stressed about, but not the fact that, I mean, you did win. You did win a huge. You beat, how many boats are in that thing? 200 people?
Yeah, it was pretty close. It was 193.
That's a big field. A lot of really amazing fishermen in that. I mean, even maybe the fans don't know a lot of those guys, but we know them. And there's a lot of stone cold killers in that group.
Well, you know it just as much as I do. There's a section of this country that's professional fishermen, like true professional,
that's
like
right.
Fish, Bass Pro Tour, Elite Series, and RIP FLW Tour. So, there's a lot of really good, but there's just as many people back home that are just as good a fishermen that
or better.
Either have, or better,
mm-hmm.
that have families, that have a job that they can't leave, that can't get time off. I mean, there's just a lot of aspects to it. So, I mean, but those are the guys that you're fishing against in the Coastal Championship, are those guys most of the time. And yeah, they freaking catch them.
Yeah, they do.
Like, they go out there like day in and day out and catch them.
That's exactly right. And and it's scary because they don't get as much time on the water as say some of us do, and they just show up and show out.
Absolutely, that's crazy.
That's what's crazy. But so tell me about Cumberland. I don't I don't know how you did. I don't do any research on the show. You should know that about me. But how did you do in our Cumberland Tour events? You caught them there.
Both times.
Both times. Yeah, I thought you did. I thought you did.
Yeah, I've actually always done really good at Cumberland. I don't remember my exact places, but I mean, I got $10,000 check.
Right, which is catching them. Yeah.
Well, and I think I missed the cut one time by like 8 to 12 ounces or something. So like
those were fun tournaments. Both of those tournaments were super fun.
Like the most fun ever.
Yeah.
I that first one. The first one was it was a harder one.
The weather.
The water was quite a bit colder.
And the weather was brutal.
Yeah. But that second one though, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
The best spinnerbait bite I've ever been on my entire life.
Ever. Yes.
I bet I caught 40 that second day.
Yes.
It's incredible. So,
well, how did you?
It definitely showed out.
How did you catch them? I mean, I've read a little bit, but I was texting with some of the FLW media guys, Jody and Kyle and those guys, and they said, dude, that you were catching a lot of numbers. You were getting a lot of bites, and that was not the theme of the week for most people. So you figured out something really special, sounded like.
I did. I was really, you and I both know, like, when you get on a place like Cumberland that just has a ton of fish on it,
mm-hmm.
and you're not getting bites, you're not doing the right thing.
That's right.
Like, bottom line. And so I fished to find bites. And when I did that, that's when the quality kicked up. And it was just weird. Like, I was, like, really honed in on what I needed to look for. And I was flipping a Strike King Bitsy flip jig.
I saw that, and that is so old school. That's one of my favorite jigs ever.
Oh, dude, it's so great. And people don't even
know.
Like, there's so many other jigs out there that people flip. Yeah, I mean, and they're good ones, like the Ike.
Oh, it's a great jig. The little Kitech jig.
Little Kitech jig.
Yep.
And, the thing is I only took 3 half-ounce Bitsy flips with me. I only had 3 green pumpkin ones. And by the mid part of the second day, I broke off my last one.
Ooh.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not going to catch them now. Like, in your mind, you're like, you get so locked in.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, all right, like, I need to switch this up. And I start building jigs and, like, I'm, like, putting together all kinds of different combinations. And finally I settled in on just a basic little, just a Arky style head and put a finesse style green pumpkin skirt on it and a green pumpkin baby rage crawl, and I went to work on them.
That's awesome,
dude. And it didn't really, and what I realized though, it didn't really matter. I just have so much confidence in that Bitsy flip.
Oh, it's a great jig.
And so that's what, and what people don't understand, like, it's the Bitsy flip, the half ounce especially, it actually has a weight that goes down the shaft of the hook. And so, most jigs are really top heavy. So they're all the weight's in the head. Well, this weight goes down. So when you're fishing those bluffs, it really keeps it level on the ground and lets it swim down that bluff. And that's, I personally, I think that was like a big key.
That's awesome.
But, I mean, it didn't matter. I mean, evidently.
I've caught a lot of fish on that Bitsy flip over the years, and a Bitsy bug. I've always been a Bitsy bug fan. Being around here at Tennessee River, we fish a ton of bluffs, that, and a lot of smallmouth, and that's always been, and it still is around here. It's a staple. It's a jig that gets thrown a lot, but doesn't get the limelight that it did when it first came out years and years and years ago. So when I saw that, I was like, good for you. That's awesome. I was pumped. And then at the same time, I was like, damn it, Andrew, shut up about the Bitsy flip.
Don't talk
shut up about the Bitsy flip. I understand that you work for them and that you're sponsored by them, but shut up. And then you were Ned rigging some?
I was Ned rigging.
You are Mr. Ned Rig. Brian Latimer thinks he is, but you have become Mr. Ned.
I mean, I like it. I've fished it a lot. I've made a lot of money off a Ned rig. And, I was actually using a head that I designed for Gene LaRue when I was sponsored by him still. It's not a Strike King head, I know, whatever. But, like, it's just a good head. It's a football-style head, has a really unique hook to it, has a sickle-style hook and a weed guard. And I'm a big weed guard guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love a weed guard on a Ned rig, and not everybody's like that.
That's right.
But I fish my Ned rig in trees and brush and stuff that you can't fish an open hook in. And but I was using the new Strike King Ned Ocho, which was a bait that I helped design for Strike King. and it's just basically it floats. It has little cavities on the side that help catch air, so like it helps it float up, and it's really durable. I mean, it's just a good bait. I mean, overall, you're gonna catch a lot of fish on it.
I saw them in a tackle store yesterday for the first time in person. I actually got to look at them and grabbed a couple packs of them. They look really good. It's an I mean, and everybody's got a Ned bait now. You know, I mean, that's kind of the thing. There was a couple other little Ned baits that Strike King announced at ICAST that I think are very interesting. The little creature, what is it? The Ned.
The Ned bug.
Ned bug. Yeah, that looks cool too. And I saw a little cutter worm or something.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that thing looks sweet.
So that was a deal that I was big time into because we sat in a meeting in Texas, me and Chris Mlflw and a lot of the other higher ups at Strike King. And they're like, Andrew, you like throwing a Ned rig. What baits do we need? And I said, we need a Ned Ocho. We call it the Ned Ocho. Mm-hmm. We want to keep that name. I said, and we need a Ned cutter worm. And they're like, what? And I'm like, just trust me. Like, we need a Ned cutter worm because that cutter worm just catches them, dude.
Yes, it does.
And that Ned cutter worm, it just looks so like it. Honestly, in my opinion, you could take that and replace a grub.
Yes,
and put that
that's
in
what
place
I thought.
of a grub.
Yep.
And that's what, in my mind, that's what I was looking for, was something to replace a grub that didn't have as much action, but just that good in between.
Yep.
And yeah, it does exactly what
I saw those yesterday too, and it looks delicious, man.
Yeah.
They'll sell a lot of them, and I'm sure Tackle Warehouse and places have been selling a lot of that since that coastal win. They're probably sold out of Bitsy Flips, and I need to order some. So thanks a lot for that.
You're welcome.
So man, this year has obviously been. The last year for us in this industry has been insane. It's turned over on itself. We can't really keep up with what's going on. Even when you think you've got your finger on the pulse, something else changes, it seems like. But this year you fought through it, had the best year of your career. For sure, you are making your mark on social media more than ever. You have really embraced the YouTube life with our boy Scotty Martin. And you filmed with Scott a lot. You got any plans to do more of that next year? I'm sure you do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we actually have some pretty big things in the works. I can't talk about them.
Awesome.
But it's going to be pretty awesome on the YouTube side of things. So, just make sure you stay tuned on that stuff.
Well, let me ask you this, as far as that goes, and your industry insider perspective like I have. Do you see, and I did a podcast about this a month or so ago, and the results were mixed on people's opinions of it, but do you see or do you feel that this shift to this YouTube constant content world is taking over the fishing world like I see? I mean, more so than even tournament fishermen. We were the go-to, right, for information, but now that's all changed. For better or worse.
Yeah, I think you're going to see. I think it's going to keep going back and forth. If I'm being honest.
Okay.
So what you're going to see is when the big influx of YouTubers came out, and the Googans,
right,
informative fishermen,
right.
There's just a ton of these guys. Well, when they first started, if I remember correctly, it was informative fisherman was one of the first. And then, oh God, what is his name? The Fluke guy.
Fluke Master,
mm-hmm. That guy. He was one of the first. And these are your old school, in tactical bassin. Some of these guys,
no doubt.
Old school guys. Well, then in comes the Guggen squad,
mm-hmm.
and the Tyler Reel Fishing, and some of these other guys.
Ben Milliken, I don't know if you know Ben. Ben kills it.
Yeah, Ben kills it. I know Ben.
Noah Pescatelli kicking their bat.
Yep.
Darian is fishing. Darian is fishing sucks. We can say that. Darian definitely sucks.
They're so bad. But and then you got pros that are now
mm-hmm.
YouTubers. Beyond Scott. Scott's been in it for a while now. But
B-Lat.
B-Lat and Castledine and yourself, and there's a lot of guys that have YouTube channels that put out really good content. You've got guys that talk about their tournament stuff, like a Castledine. You got guys that share their behind the scenes experience, like a BLAT, and you just do you, and that's what makes your show so great, is you're just you. And I love that about you.
Well, dude, I really appreciate that. I think that's the first nice thing you've ever said about me.
Well, the thing is, if I'm saying nice things about you, I probably don't like you. So.
I always say, I've told people for years, I'm like, if you ever see Andrew and I at a public function together, you're like, dang, those guys really don't like each other, because we give each other a really hard time. And I actually had a co-angler one time at the Harris Chain. Andrew and I were sharing this little backwater deal, and I was just giving Andrew, he really smashed him the first day, and I just had kind of a mediocre day, which was not, that was a lot of my days. And Andrew comes in there, and he's he really needs one so he can get a check, because he caught him sight fishing the first day. And I'm like, hey, man, there's a 3-pounder over there, but it's stupid and it won't bite, and I hate its guts. And he's like, well, I'm going to go catch it. So he's over there trying to catch it, and I'm giving Andrew a hard time. My co-angler's like, man, you don't like that guy, do you? You don't like that guy at all. And I'm like, no, he's my good buddy of mine, man. He's like, oh, man, I was worried this was getting awkward, because Andrew's trying to catch the fish, and I'm just waylaying him with insults and everything else, just because, I'm jealous. And so jealous. And because he had caught him so good the first time, I knew he's fixing to get $10,000. I had lost 2 earlier in the day that I knew were costing me $10,000, and I was just I was over it. And anyways, so I'm giving Andrew a hard time, and my co-owner was just mortified. He was like, dang, bro, get off that guy's case. But Andrew is somebody, that all of you need to follow if you're not, and because he does speak his mind, and he's a very good teacher of the sport of bass fishing. He will show you what he does when he catches them. He will break it down. He's very educational on his stuff, and he's very entertaining. But I've got to, before we kind of bid farewell, I do have to ask you, just because it has to be said, and I'm not going to put you on the spot or anything, but what's your overall opinion, what's your overall take of the, quote, hostile takeover, in my opinion, of FLW, and what's going on here based on kind of our history? Because you and I, to set this up, and I've talked about it on here a lot, we were on an angler panel together this year. There was an angler panel that had gone on in the past without us. We were put on it this year. You yourself, Brad Knight, and Jordan Osborne started your own group to kind of collectively talk for the FLW Tour Pros to FLW Brass last year to get some things changed, and got a lot of things done. Worked your ass off on that, and really stood up for the anglers. And the things that we worked very, very, very hard on are now gone. A lot of them.
Yeah. And
that's frustrating for me.
Yeah, it's frustrating for me too. So let's just say what it does. Or say what it is. Jordan and I, we got together, and we didn't like what was going on last year. And Brad Knight came in with us, and we were all just all fired up. And I was like, you know what? Let's just start a petition, guys. and you know what? It actually worked somehow.
It did.
And,
it did.
We actually got, contrary to belief, we actually got a lot of guys on board with us, and that supported us. It wasn't we were the leaders of the pack, and, we took the weight on our shoulders, and kind of, ultimately, anytime I do something, I'm trying to do it to better everyone and not just myself. Mm-hmm. And I knew that what was going on was not good for the sport, nor was it good for the pros. And so I was an advocate on the side of the pros. I was just trying to lobby on behalf of them to try to make the sport better. And we got a lot of stuff done. And we worked really closely with FLW, and they worked really closely with
And they were great to work with. They were great to work with.
They were great. And they understood our points, and they took it very serious. And, we got, like I said, like what you said, we got a lot of stuff done. But fast forward to now, we're now in the midst of a buyout that was just announced a couple weeks ago. I was actually at the U.S. Open. But I'd gotten a call the day before it all went down. And which kind of stunk because it kind of ruined that whole trip for me, not going to lie. And because everything changed. We went from a true professional organization to a qualifying tour. And I don't care how you sugarcoat it. That's what we turned into.
Triple A, you mean? You just
yes.
If we're talking baseball, you went from now you're the feeder system for the big bad Bass Pro Tour, where there are guys like Brian Thrift that could beat everybody on that tour and then some, But now he's Triple A.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
And that's aggravating to say the least a little bit, because guys like Thrift and Scott Martin and David Dudley, John Cox. I mean, the list.
Well,
goes on.
yourself.
Myself.
I mean,
I've been
I'll
in it
throw
for 8 years. I mean, and guys that have put their lives on the line for this deal, and now we're second tier, and so that's hard to. It's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially since you've earned your way to where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, I think that. And this is my opinion. I think you're going to see a lot of things happen in the next few weeks.
Yes, for sure.
A falling out, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad thing about this takeover, and I'm not going to call it a hostile
No,
takeover.
I say that in jest. It's not. I mean, it's very legal and it's very it was a buyout, and for all practical purposes, everything I'm being told and fed is that FLW was a failing business and the MLF is saving the day. So. That's what
I've been told like 100 times.
That's what I'm getting to. So it's not a hostile takeover. That's a joke.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to say this. Hang on. I gotta say this before you say that. I gotta look at the camera here. Jim and Boyd, Gary, whoever's watching, I was joking about saying it was a hostile takeover. Okay, go ahead, Andrew.
But it is a takeover of the industry, though.
Totally. Totally.
Totally. I will say that.
Totally.
Because the industry is in flux right now.
Yes.
Marketing directors don't know where they're spending their money.
Totally.
They don't know who to invest in anymore.
Yep.
Let's be honest here. What they did is they eliminated a competitor.
Yes.
Like they might have saved the day, but they eliminated a competitor. And I'd have done the same thing.
Of course.
As a business person.
Yes.
Why not? And so I don't disagree with their business practice as far as that goes. With that being said, I think not everybody agrees with the way they do business. And but that's business though.
That's the United States.
Yeah. Like
you can do that.
Everybody's going to like what you do.
I don't have to like, Dick's Sporting Goods supports or Bass Pro Shop supports or whoever. But guess what? I've got a decision. Guess what? I just don't have to go there.
Exactly. And
I don't have to go there.
This whole mindset of like, we hate you because you have this opinion. No, and we just have opinions. Like,
that's right.
Just what it is. And so it bothers me that this industry has become such in all fairness, it reminds me so much of our politics these days.
I agree.
You see like Republicans and Democrats going at each other's throats like it's the end of the world. And it's like, where did we go wrong here? Like, where did we become enemies?
So divided.
We're just so divided anymore. And like, I hate that. Like,
I do too.
Because I want us all to work together, because I think the more these companies, these businessmen work together with the industry professionals and the other organizations, the more successful this whole, business will be.
Yes.
And if we don't work together, this is the kind of stuff that happens. You get companies that are brought up out of, disagreements or, let's be honest, these pros developed this trail because they were unhappy with what was going on elsewhere.
That's right.
And so they, in all technicalities, built an organization out of spite.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Which is never a good way to go into anything.
No. And now, granted, they have a completely different business model, and that's great. Like, it works. And I'm going to tell you right now, MLF and Bass Pro Tour have a very good model for non-endemics. A very good model for non-endemics. I think that who they present to is perfect. I mean, they focus on that Bass Pro clientele, and just the everyday people who watch TV, whatever. that don't know anything, that don't know the difference between a crankbait and a spinnerbait, and that's fine. But let's be honest here. Like, when you build a platform that forgets the tournament anglers, you're going to have pushback from the tournament anglers, especially if their favorite angler is Kevin Van Dam, Greg Hackney, whoever. So you're going to have pushback because those guys like watching those guys, and sometimes they don't like that format.
That's exactly right.
And I'm not discrediting the format because
neither am I.
Now,
neither am I.
I have like severe anxiety. So like I would be so anxious in that format.
Yeah.
Like so anxious. So like to compete in it, I know right now it's like probably one of the toughest competitions out there. But I'll say this with that is it's not that much fun to watch sometimes.
No, I agree.
I liked watching it when they caught all them biggins.
Yeah, the North Carolina tournament was awesome.
Yeah. Dude, it was great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Like, the other ones were kind of boring. And not to take away anything from their announcers. JT's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, Marty's they do a good job. Yeah, it's fine.
They do a good
the
job.
coverage is good. I've talked about it on here, which they, I had kind of had a disagreement with them, but they didn't go back and listen to the podcast that I was doing when I was covering. I was doing a podcast during one of their events or whatnot. Like, I've defended their format on here countless times. When people say mostly little fish or, it's not hard to do that or whatever. Yeah, it is. You got 80 of the best guys, in the world, 60 of them anyways. And they're out there, dude, like, I don't want to be fishing against them in any format, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the cream always rises to the
top. Of course. And you've seen that. And you've seen that with Jacob and with Edwin and with Jordan Lee. And with, you've seen it countless times. I mean, the guys that catch them are going to catch them. But it did not resonate with, I won't even say, dude, based on my posts and my podcast and the feedback I get, I won't even say it's a 50-50 split. I'm going to say it's like a 70-30 split. 70% of the people do not like it, and 30% of the people don't know any better.
Well, and I think it's even worse. I think
and maybe it
is
like
80. I think it's like an 80.
Maybe
20.
it is.
And let's be honest here though. That 80% is comprised of tournament.
That's it. 1,000%.
Tournament focused fishermen. So if you went and did a survey of their followers and our followers, it would probably be a 50-50.
Yep.
Let's be honest.
Yep. I agree.
So, tournament fishermen haven't sold out to the program very well.
Exactly
I mean, there's
right.
some, and that's great. And the thing is tournament guys, it's just like, to put it into a practical term for hunters, you got people who just want to go out there and shoot as many things as they can, and you got guys that want to trophy hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And in my eyes, a tournament fisherman's more of a trophy hunter because they want to go catch a 5, 6, 7, 8 pound bass.
Right.
And they don't care about the 1 and 2 pound bass. Like, it's just not in their frame of mind. Now, don't get me wrong; those Bass Pro Tour guys are catching big ones too.
They are, yeah.
But you're seeing much more of the small fish, and I hate it for those guys because there's some of those guys are just, and all of them are really good, obviously, but some of them are really good friends of mine, and that format just does not fit them.
No, there are some guys that lost their identities this year.
They did, and I feel so bad for them, like, because I'm a student of the game. I love watching these guys, and to see a guy like Greg Hackney have to put his jig down.
That's right.
Or Kevin Van Dam to put his 10XD down, or Ish Monroe to put his flipping stick down. That's hard. Like, I want to see those guys. I want to see Ish bust a big one out of a reed head with a 1 ounce jig.
With a big jig,
like,
yeah, that's right.
That's what I want to see, and that's just me as a fan. So I have that, I have that kind of guard up against it. I feel like it's kind of taken the strengths away from some of those guys to a certain degree. And they probably all disagree with me, and that's fine. But just as a fan,
I wouldn't be so sure about that. But
as a fan perspective, that's what I see.
Yeah.
And so, and that's all.
And you have the right to your perspective, just like you have your right to your opinion, just like I have mine, and just like the fans do. And the biggest problem for me is, and it's like this with the sponsors now with FLW we're seeing, and MLF sponsors over time, the force feeding of it, and the proverbial cramming it down everybody's throat. It is very much, in my opinion, it is very much their way or the highway. And I'm living proof of it, man. I did a podcast. It was the meekest, most mild podcast I did with James Watson, and everybody took such issue with the things I said. And I was just basically, saying, hey, it's FLW 2.0. Irwin Jacobs did this. He tried this. It did not work long term. It worked for a little while. It was great for the anglers. We paid millions of dollars. We paid $250,000 first place. Walmart FLW Tour presented by Coca-Cola, blah, 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 blah. And then the next year it was the Walmart FLW Tour presented by whatever. And once those people left, the Rangers and the Evinrudes and the Lawrences and the TH Marines and Costas and Yetis and whoever else, they were the landing spot for the FLW Tour.
Yep.
And now those people are being told they're not doing enough.
Oh yeah.
And
and
that's an issue. That's an issue.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue. I mean, how they're going about, it's almost like it's taking a crap on the little man. And I'm not saying TH or any of those people are little man.
No, totally understand.
When you compare their business practice to a Walmart or a Bass Pro Shops, we
are the little man. We're a family business.
Yeah, they're a family business. So, I mean, let's remember where we came from. You always remember where you come from in business. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, you got to make sure you just got to take care of everybody. And I know that it kind of goes against some business practice of what you think. But let's be honest, like $30,000 from TH Marine is better than no $1,000 from TH Marine.
That's exactly
right. And even if it gets them like almost no publicity, at the same time, they're still in the game.
And they're supporting.
And they're supporting the anglers. They're supporting everybody. So, like, I just don't understand the aspect that I get the aspect of it from you want everything to be fair. But let's be honest, like a TH Marine or a Lose, and I don't want to pick on Lose and Strike Team because this is my opinion.
Yeah, that's the same I say about TA. This has nothing to do with TA. This is just how I see it.
It's just the aspect. These are smaller businesses. These aren't, multi-billion-dollar organizations.
They're not Sonic.
They're not. And so we can only afford so many things. These small companies in this industry can only just afford certain things. So that's why you see a lot more TH Marine logos on jerseys or Lose logos on jerseys, because that's what we can afford.
That's right.
But now that's getting taken away from the fishermen that fish FLW.
Mm-hmm. Yes, on the jersey side of things.
And that's a big issue of mine. And I'll say it point blank. I think it is a major issue that the entry fees are at the highest point that they've ever been at in the history of fishing on the FLW Pro Circuit. I don't care about the payouts. Great. It's whatever. They've cut $100,000 out of Angler of the Year. They've cut $100,000 off the cup or whatever you want to call the championship. They've cut 200. So they've cut $200,000 right off the top. And we've had the most entry fees we've ever paid. So the math kind of screwy right there. But when you start taking away jersey space or boat carpet space to put logos of the organization, of their sponsors, that's cutting into any advertising space that, as a fisherman, that I have. Because
that's what you sell. That's what I sell. And just for you non-tournament fishermen that may listen or non-professional tournament wannabes, or, you don't understand the game. When I sit down with a company, that's what I'm selling them. I'm selling them jersey logo space. I'm selling them boat logo space. And I'm saying, hey, man, I got a potential to get you on camera for 4 days, your logo right there. And that's what they pay me based on the opportunity to have their logos be visible. And now we're
50%. We have 50% of our jersey
on after day 2, correct? Which is the TV time.
Okay, so let's break it down here. The FLW Pro Circuit is 4 days. You got days 1 and 2.
Everybody.
Okay, you can wear any logo you want at all. Okay, after day 2, you go into day 3. On days 1 and 2, all you have is the live weigh-in. Period. Okay. Day 3 is when we start our TV time, probably more directed articles, anything that has to do with video. We are 100% all in, wearing 50% logos and getting nothing in return.
And those other logos you're wearing are FLW Tour and MLF sponsor logos that they've sold.
Exactly.
That they've sold your jersey. But you're a paying customer.
But the people who are supporting me and helping me pay my $40,000, let's just be honest, $40,000, and you're taking away that space. They've earned that. My sponsors have earned that spot. Now, I get it. This is something that has gone on for years in this industry.
Of course.
But not the years that I've been in it.
That's right.
So we're going, that was one of the big arguments of a lot of the fishermen at MLF was they wanted free logo space. They wanted free jersey. They wanted to be able to wear anything they wanted to do, so they break off and create this organization. Well, now we're forced to wear logos that don't, and now granted, they don't conflict with our sponsors. They're non-endemics. They make us look more legit, I guess. And at the same time, though, you're taking away space.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's just say, hypothetically speaking, my title sponsor this year is Lose and Strike King. Those are two big logos, okay? Mm-hmm. Where are they going to go? Because they're the ones that are paying me the big money. And this is all hypothetical. But let's just say they're paying me $100,000. And they're not, believe me. If they were, I wouldn't be working at all. But let's just say they're paying me $100,000 and they're putting their logos right there on my stomach and on my chest. Well, now they don't get to do that. Now, a non-endemic is going to be able to put their logo right there in place of where one of those logos is going to go. Now I can have one big logo above that, and then the other one has to be small. Well, is that really fair for my sponsors that are paying me a whole heck of a lot of money to get their spot taken from a company that pays me zero money?
Or is that sponsor going to pay you that money? That's the question.
Exactly.
They're not going to.
I'm telling you right now, and contrary to popular belief that this is not a AAA trail, marketing directors throughout this industry look at it as a AAA trail.
They do now.
I don't care what anybody's telling us. That is what we are being told from marketing directors,
That's
the ones
right.
that are actually
the one makes the decisions. Yeah, the ones that make the decision on whether you and your family get a check from them or not.
And so now we're forced, or I'm not going to say forced. We are given the opportunity to pay a $40,000 entry fee with marketing directors telling us, well, you're now a AAA trail, so we're not going to pay you as much, with unprecedented entry fee levels with 50% advertising space. There's an issue there.
That's an issue.
And I've made it, me, I'm very opinionated. We've had some calls, and I've been on those calls, and I've been probably the most outspoken. I have been the most outspoken. Let's just be honest there. I've definitely been the most outspoken and asked the hard questions, because at the end of the day, if I don't ask the questions, I don't have the confidence that my fellow fishermen are going to stand up and ask those questions.
There are a lot of people scared in this industry right now.
They are. They're scared right
For
now.
whatever reason, guys feel like they can't voice their opinion. And what I keep telling FLW guys that reach out to me, especially after the podcast last week, thank you so much for being a voice. Thank you so much for voicing your opinion where you're scared to. And my text back a lot is, why are you scared? You're paying them $40,000. All you've got to do is not pay them $40,000. Go somewhere else. Go mow grass and go fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand we're all very deep into this, but at the end of the day, like I've said 100 times, it's America, and we do have decisions. You don't have to fish with them if you don't like what they're doing.
Exactly.
You don't have to. And there are going to be guys that don't.
Yeah. And I'm having to make that decision right now. Do I go and spend my $40,000 and just bite the bullet and wear their logos, or do I go fish the opens? And I tell you right now, it's a hard decision. I'm on the fence right now, because I've had arguably the most successful, without a doubt, the most successful season I've ever had in FLW. And is it hard to sit there and say, you know what, the field's going to be cut down some, because there's a lot of guys leaving.
Yep.
They think there's two, and there's way more than two. And, the thing is, there's a lot of guys leaving, and what's that do? That leaves a lot of checks open. And you and I both know that.
Yeah.
And so I look at it as the money aspect.
Money to be made.
How much money can I make? And there's a lot of money to be made. Let's just be honest there. And so, is my end goal fishing the Bass Pro Tour? I can't answer that question right now. But I will say this. If I fish the pro circuit, I'm going to fish at least one division of the Opens, if not both divisions of the Opens, because I really think the 5-fish stringers fit my style better.
I would agree.
I've always been a guy that can go catch a lot of numbers, but over time I've developed this game of being really good at catching 5 big ones, and I like it better. And so I think it's going to be hard for me to make that decision. And then the thing is I still got to finish in the top 10 in points after 2 years. So that's a 2% chance or a 4%. I mean, it's a very small percent chance.
It's a lot to think about.
Because especially when you take a 2-year average, I mean, you just never know what could happen there.
Not in this sport.
You have one bad year. And that's the other thing that freaks me out. So you go over to the elites. How long have some of those guys stayed in the elites? Even after having a bad year. They stayed. Yeah. They hadn't got kicked out, and they're not going to get kicked out anytime soon. Bass Pro Tour, you have one bad year after we qualify, you're out. And you got to start this process all over again. So that's freaky.
So they're telling. I didn't know. So they're saying once you do make it to the BPT, you only got 1 year.
Yes.
And see, these original guys had 3 years, had to sign 3-year deals. Of course, we know that was more to keep them from leaving and going back to Bass and back to FLW. Yeah. And good luck with all that, I say. But anyways,
so what they're doing is it's a 3-year qualifiers for the first group that went in. And once they cut their 10 out and we bring our 10 in, then it's an every year qualification.
Whew.
So just imagine you're fishing against the best in the world. Okay, let's just say they're the best.
Yeah.
We'll just hypothetically they're the best. Whatever. You got to fish against the best in the world. You got to fish against Van Dam, Hackney, Jason Christie, Polinick, Justin Lucas. The list goes on. Okay, and you've got to finish in the top 70 in points. Now that sounds like 70 out of 80 you can do that. But you're fishing. There's not a weak link in that series. You've got to catch them every day,
all year,
every tournament, and to make it. And that's just to keep your job.
Yep.
It doesn't account for you have one bad year, and you can lose every sponsor you have.
And even the best have bad years in the sport. We've seen it with Van Dam. We've seen it with Denny Brower. We've seen it with Rick Clummy. We've seen it countless times. It's fishing. It's going to happen. It happens in every sport. When you're going to have bad games, you're going to have bad years.
And so that's kind of a tough pill to swallow. For me, it just kind of takes the longevity of the sport out, and it makes it much more short term. And for me personally, it kind of that affects my paycheck, that affects my family, and it affects my health because let's just be honest, you got to catch them every day of every event. Okay. To requalify. That's just to requalify. That's not even to make money. That's just to requalify. That is going to put immense stress on you.
You're going to get some
family.
ulcers.
Yeah, your kids. It's just not healthy. It's very hard, and we don't get paid enough for it to be healthy. A football player can go out there. I've heard this example a few times. A football player, a golfer, he only gets to play for X amount of years, and then he's going to get whatever. They get paid millions. They get supplemented millions of dollars. Okay, we're getting a couple $100 to $1,000, $100,000, whatever. That's what we're getting paid. So that stress doesn't equate with the amount of money that we're bringing in.
I agree.
For me personally,
I agree.
I want to have a happy life, and that sounds like a very stressful.
And I'll say this though, because I do get some comments like this, and I'll say the everyman guy that sits out there that doesn't get to do what we get to do will probably say, "Hey man, quit your bitching, you get to fish." But we do have a choice to do this, right?
Yeah,
you chose
absolutely.
this. We did choose this, but it also chose us. I mean, it's our love,
yeah.
it's our passion. It chose us. This is what we decided to do. So we say all these things. We piss and moan and complain about this stuff because we are passionate about it. And and we're complaining right now for the 16-year-old kid that thinks this is his dream, like we had. And we complain and we state our opinions for the guy that works the night shift and fishes every day during the day instead of sleeping so he can get time on the water to go fish the BFL, to qualify for the coast, to qualify for the tour, to fish the cup that doesn't exist anymore. But now that guy has an extra step he's got to go through to get to this Bass Pro Tour. And like Andrew's saying, once you get there, you may not even get to stay there more than a year.
Yeah, and you talk about years of sacrifice, years of hard work.
Yes,
and that is the BFL guy. That is, because I was the BFL guy.
Absolutely,
I was the college guy. I did an interview with Kyle Wood yesterday, and he brought up a really cool point that I honestly didn't even know. I truly won in every aspect or every level of FLW.
Yeah.
I won in college. I won a BFL. I won a Costa, and I've won a tour event.
It's awesome.
And I've worked my way up, but now that's all possibly in jeopardy. And so, like, my job is in jeopardy. Like, your job is in jeopardy as a fisherman.
That's right.
Now I know you work in the industry and you're set and you do your deal, but like, you're not fishing next year.
Yeah. And this had a lot to do with it, right? I mean, I had an opportunity at TH, and I said that on my announcement video.
Yeah.
I knew this storm was coming, and I didn't want to be a part of it. And I talked about that in my video, and I took some scrutiny over that. But
why, though? I mean, you shouldn't take scrutiny over something that's going to better your family.
Absolutely. And I took some scrutiny over taking shots at the fact that this new regime change could be coming, and I just didn't want to be a part of it. And I loved FLW as is. I loved the people. I still love the people, top to bottom, a lot of great people there. Even like you're saying, if we disagree with them, they have the right to their opinions just like we do. And at the end of the day, they were great to work with. They listened to us. They gave me a platform. They gave me a lot of opportunities, even when they shouldn't have had. And I owe them a lot for people even knowing my freaking name. That being said, I just didn't want to be a part of this. And when this opportunity popped up with TH, it was a great opportunity for me. Am I done tournament fishing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You sure? You might be done.
No, I could be done. I could be done. I know this. I'll say this with everything I've had going on. I'll say this. I'm done in 2020. I'll say that. I don't know about 21, though, because I'll probably get to Jonesing and I'll be in those Bassmaster Opens, I'm sure, or something. But
I mean, it's let's be honest, it's gambling.
Oh, it is. It's high stakes gambling.
And we like to gamble.
That's right.
So we complain a lot about, the thing. I don't want it to come off as that I'm complaining. I'm trying to make it better for everybody.
I get it.
Like, from the BFL guy, the college guy,
for tournament anglers,
the tournament anglers. I'm trying to make this sport better. And because there's some flawed concepts on both sides. Bass has some flawed concepts.
Of course.
FLW obviously did, or they wouldn't have been in the situation they were in. And MLF does. And so the more we come to terms and try to fix things, the better off this is going to be. And you got to have somebody that's going to go out there and represent yourself well and represent the fishermen well. And I know without a doubt, prior to this last phone call, I was in Kathy Fennell's ear, which is the president of FLW. I was in Kathy Fennell's ear a bunch, Dave Washburn's. I was sending emails. I was lobbying for our guys. And to come to find out that we're no longer on an angler committee, that they're going to re-vote an angler committee. So
is that list going to be picked by people that made posts that were like, it's an exciting day for FLW when the MLF announcement came out? They're going to pick all those guys.
Well, I can promise you one thing, and this is something that I can absolutely promise you.
Your ass ain't on it.
I will probably not be on that angler committee.
I would fully agree with that statement. Fully.
And mainly just because, like, I'm way, let's just say this, I'm way too outspoken about my opinions. And so, which is fine.
Why do you
whatever.
need a panel of people that supposedly give you your opinions if you can't handle hearing the opinions? That's the issue at hand here. It's not that you have the opinions; it's that people can't handle the opinions. Like, even if you disagree with the dang opinions, listen to it, absorb it, and go. This is how I've always tried to see. And I'm far from a perfect human being by a million miles, but this is how I've always tried to live my life. It's how my dad's lived his life. It's how my mom lived her life. Is I have friends, close friends, great friends that disagree with me politically, religiously, emotionally, whatever you want to say in life, and you're friends. You're friends. It's okay. If we're all built different, and it's totally fine. And I say this about politics and everything going on in the country. It's totally fine to disagree with somebody, and at the same time, if you have a conversation with somebody, I'll bet you there's some common ground there somewhere. Now, have I met a lot of people in life that I have zero common ground with? You dang right. You're dang right. But I dare say that if you look hard and you try, that instead of just casting somebody off for their opinion, that somewhere there's something that you could get along about. You don't have to, but this hatred for people that have differing opinions of you it's just time for that to end. That's just insane. And I'm not just talking fishing. I'm on my soapbox nationwide, and you've said it though.
Yeah.
It's the whole way.
Yeah,
it's a constant Facebook debate, right? I mean,
it's just like, you don't like my opinion. Well, I'm gonna delete you.
Block.
Like, okay,
You're blocked.
Block.
Yep.
Let's not even have a good discussion about something.
Like, I love a debate.
Just block people. Yeah,
I love a debate, and that was one of the reasons I reached back out, because I started just to ignore, because of the situation I was in with my mother and everything at the time. When Jim Wilburn reached out to me, started to ignore it, and then I emailed back, and I invited him to come on here, not to debate, but to let him give his take, to let him give his spin to the listeners that were on my side. He wanted to clarify things. I said, clarify them yourself on this show. I said it last week, and I'll say it right now while you're on here. I will let anybody that wants to call in this show from any organization call in. I love it. I love this sport. I love to talk about everything that's going on, the good and the bad and the ugly. Let's talk about it. Don't be scared, or don't dismiss it because I may disagree with some things. That's not okay. So we got to get away from that, man. And and
I want to, before we get off here though, I want to say one thing. FLW MLF did offer the opportunity for anybody to put their name in the hat for the angler committee. I do want to say that.
Yeah, it's a vote. It's a vote.
And I'm choosing not to put my name in the hat because I'm burnt out. Burnt out with the politics.
I get it.
And I would just want to get back to my roots. I want to get back to fishing. And that's to say anybody would even vote me in at this point. Which is whatever. I don't even care.
Well, I think a lot of the anglers really respect you for what you did last year, though. And there were a lot of guys, I want to say this before we get off, too. Last year when you guys did the petition, there were a lot of anglers that reaped the benefits of the things that the petition worked out, that were scared to sign the petition, first of all, and bashed said petition, and didn't want anything to do with any of it. But then still wanted to complain about things they didn't like, and still wanted to gripe and moan and all that. But reaped the benefits that the petition and the angler panel, the things that we got accomplished. So,
and that's the nice thing about that. And I love people like that, actually, because the thing is those are the people that they're never going to stand up for themselves, but they got to have somebody stand up for them. And I was that guy, and Jordan was that guy, and Brad was that guy, and the angler panel was that team. And we stood up for those guys regardless if they didn't like us or like what we were doing, and they got better results out of it. So
absolutely.
You got to have people like that, and I respect them. I still respect them. I might not agree with them, but I still respect them, and I think that, we all have a voice. If you pay that $40,000 entry fee, you have a voice.
You're a customer,
and you should have that voice. So, and like I said before, FLW listened. They tried to make things better. They really did.
Absolutely did, yeah.
And let's be honest, this isn't the same FLW that we had before.
It's not.
It might be run by some of the same people, but let's be honest, they have bosses now.
They don't have the final say. No, they don't have the final say,
No.
just like any other buyout that happens, and we know that. And I have no ill will towards anybody at FLW, and I never want any of this to come across as that. And look, other than the personal attack on me from some MLF folks, I don't have any ill will towards that organization. I've said it on here before. I don't want to see it fail. I'm in the business of selling boat parts and selling dreams and covering this sport and being a part of it, and I don't want any of this to fail. FLW will always hold such a special place in my heart and in my mind for everything that I did while I was there, the camaraderie, the people, everything. And I don't want it to not exist, and I don't want it to fail. And I've got too many great friends, just such as yourself, that are on the tour or on the Bass Pro Tour. I don't want it to fail. I don't want it to fail.
We don't need it to fail.
No.
Because the deal is if it fails, it puts this industry even in more flux than it already is.
And we don't need that. We need
a good we need a good economy. We need a good industry, and we need people to buy a lot of things.
Yes, we do.
Let's just be honest. We need them to buy stuff. That's what makes this industry go round.
Absolutely,
and I've always said it, and I'll say it again. Support the people who support bass fishing.
Yes.
And this industry will stay around for a long time.
That's exactly right. On that, Andrew Upshaw just killed it for an hour and 7 minutes on Low Budget Live. And, dude, I can't thank you enough, because I know you're like me. You got a million irons in the fire. Thank you for coming on and spending that time with me. And we're going to do this again. We need to do it live and in person. That would be even more fun. But definitely going to be a lot of decisions to be made. Definitely a lot of changes coming through for the whole industry once again. This is far from over. And it's going to be interesting to see. Andrew, good luck with all your decisions. And good luck officially from Low Budget Live, because I'll talk to you again, I have no doubt, very many times. But good luck in 2020.
I appreciate it, Luke. And, if you ever need somebody on there, I'm always a big fan, and I'll be watching. So
all right, buddy.
We'll see you, buddy.
All right, Upshaw. Thanks, Andrew Upshaw. Goodness gracious. That was as the children say, that was lit. If you watch the podcast I did with my daughter Harper, she says the college kids like to say "fi." That's "fi" instead of "fire." That was a "fi" phone call with Andrew Upshaw. Andrew will never, ever let you have to guess what he's thinking. I like that about Andrew a lot. Huge thanks to Andrew for being on LBL. I really appreciate it. Thank y'all for listening. Lots of exciting things coming up. Tomorrow I'm filming with Bass University on a very, 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 very cold day on Pickwick Lake, and I hope we even get a bite. Big front coming through today, and going to go film with those guys from Bass U for Mr. Mike Iaconelli and Pete Glusick and the gang, Justin Kimmel. I'm going to go do some Bass U tomorrow, Bass U TV, and then next week, Venice, Louisiana bound, baby. Venice, Louisiana for a little traveling circus action going down there late next week. Cannot wait to get down there. Got the crew from Range of Boats going, and old Marty D and Darian is fishing, and Tanner Lyons, the traveling circus cameraman extraordinaire. We're all going down there. So lots of things. Going to try to do a podcast earlier next week and get that thing out. As always, Low Budget Live, the #1 at gmail.com if you got anything you want to say. And I'm trying to get to all those. There's been a lot. Send me your questions, topics you want discussed. Hopefully we can get back to normalcy coming on up. But thank y'all so much for listening to this craziness. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. And take care. Take care, everybody. Take care of each other. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a white line
Thank you.
out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there. From Jackson Town to Tupelo, I never could make it last. Spanish moss and Civil War ghosts, well, I'm gonna leave them in the past. Any direction, Lord, I'll be fine. It don't matter east or west. North, south, wherever the wind blows. goes. I'm leaving those burdens at rest.